All right, everybody, we are back for episode 4, and man, it should be a holiday here at Triple Whale. We have a screamer for you. I am Rabah, joined with my partner in crime, co-founder of Triple Whale, and titan in the e-commerce industry, Max Blanc. And today we have the social media maven, the queen of marketing Twitter, the super mom, Christina Garnett. Christina, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I don't know what I can say to kind of warrant that kind of intro.
Well, just go follow your Twitter feed, and that is more than justification there. So I'm out in the satellite campus in Austin. Max is in Columbus, Ohio, our HQ. Where does this podcast find you today?
I'm in Virginia. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, very cool. So Virginia, you went to school in North Carolina, though, right?
I did. I'm originally from North Carolina, and then I moved up to Virginia in 2010.
Oh, cool. What'd you study?
I was an English major.
Oh, cool. So did you see a lot of English majors and kind of lit majors and people that study, I guess, the pros of the English language dovetail a lot into kind of community-led positions?
I think it's more liberal arts. I went to a liberal arts school. And
Yeah.
because that's not so much discipline-specific as it is adaptability, being able to think like critical thinking and think logically. I think that kind of lends itself to that because you specifically are taught how to kind of lean into things, to have a unique perspective, to be able to look for specific traits. One of the best things that I actually learned from my English degree was there's a class that you have to take in order to declare your major first, and it was specifically on theory, and so it at the time I hated it. It was my least favorite class, and it's the one that's actually had the most profound impact on me because I thought it was teaching me I needed to fit in a box.
Yeah.
And because I fit in a box, that's my whole thing. But I was a deconstructionist, and I am to this day, and that's how my brain works. It's how I look at everything is how can we break this into pieces? How can we improve things? What's said versus what's not being said? All of those things are such a core part of what I've been doing since I graduated. Man,
that's brilliant. I love that. So how do you get from North Carolina to Salem?
My husband.
Okay.
He's from Virginia, and so we met, got married, had children, and my in-laws live in Virginia, and we wanted them to have a very close relationship with their grandchildren, so we moved to Virginia.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. Are Dixie Caverns cool?
They're cool, yeah.
Yeah. Worth seeing?
Robert, you're a big outdoorsy man.
Yeah, dude, I love the outdoor. I almost died in Hawaii, but...
there's Dixie Caverns is great. I would actually recommend other things, though.
Shoot.
I would... McAfee's Knob.
Okay.
There's a set. If you just Google images for McAfee's Knob, you'll see it looks like a ledge, like a rock ledge, and then you're able to see the entire Roanoke Valley.
Oh wow!
It's the perfect shot.
Whoa,
oh man!
I see it.
Oh man!
Right
so if you're an outdoorsy person and you want to come here, McAfee's Knob, like there's so many other things I could recommend, but if it's like quintessential, it's that.
Oh my gosh! Look at all the internet research, all the hours I poured in. I should have just talked to you. That's brilliant. Okay, let's extrapolate even more from the outdoors. Let's go to outer space. Tell me, you worked a little bit for NASA, right?
No.
No, NASA Social though.
NASA Social. NASA Social has a program. It's actually really fantastic where you're able to apply and you're able to specifically go to a launch. Go to events that are for them, so you get to go. So mine was at Kennedy. Mine was a SpaceX launch, and it was the one where they put slime from Nickelodeon, and they took that to the International Space Station. So that was the one I got to go to.
Oh, cool!
And I was working for an agency at the time, so one of my clients did stuff with NASA. So I was able to all the content that I was able to get while I was there. I also sent to them, and so they were able to use some of it with their packaging as well. But as soon as they make it available, it's been virtual for the past 18 months for obvious reasons. But once they are in person again, I cannot recommend it enough. And what's really beautiful about it is it's not just influencers. So you're not just solely picked by your follower count. Right. The one that I was on, we had we had math teachers, we had science teachers, we have like people who do podcasts, we had a YouTuber with us, we had, they really kind of expand it so it's not hyper focused on followers. Yes, that helps, and yes, that can definitely help you get selected. But they're really picking people who will have such like a transcendental moment while they're there. That's cool. And so
what was the reasoning for the Nickelodeon slime?
I don't know. I can't say. But they did have multiple. They had multiple experiments that they were doing that they were sending up to the International Space Station. So that wasn't the only one. They had ones where it was. One of them was something they grow skin cells and they grow other cells. So they were trying to figure out like, would you be able to build like an artificial heart in space in zero gravity, like things like that. So a lot of experiments that were being done on Earth, and then being able to see like, is there any difference when it's happening on the International Space Station? So a lot of the stuff that was there, I feel like the Nickelodeon slime is a really great option because I mean you're gonna get press for that, so that's earned media like right there.
It. So it's a good move on building a community, right?
Absolutely, and the NASA Social group is so incredibly sweet and kind, and the reason I have NASA Social in my bio is because if you look at other NASA Socials, if you use that same hashtag to look at others, you'll see the community of people who've been to these launches, and some have been to multiple ones, some have only been to one, but everyone is so kind and just incredibly welcoming to people, and they truly understand that like we're all here, we're all incredibly curious, we want to learn more, we want to be able to see things, and so it's just a really fantastic opportunity. So like I said, as soon as they open up to real life again, I honestly can't recommend it enough. I wish everyone would have a chance to go.
Wow.
That's beautiful. Out here in Texas, there's a really cool mountain you could go to, and it's one of the darkest places on Earth, and there's an observatory at the top. And I went one time for the Perseids meteor shower, and the Milky Way felt like it was just falling on you. And to your point, like transcendental is such a great descriptor of it, where it was just this otherworldly experience of like, felt so small. It was crazy. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it was
so you've spoken at conferences, you're featured in endless articles. Some would kind of call you the queen of Twitter. You're a super mom. You're head of community advocacy at HubSpot. How do you balance all these things? And like, there's just so much going on. That's like 3 or 4 things for a person. And I forgot your consultancy. There's just all this stuff going on. How do you balance all of that?
I'd probably say that I have like undiagnosed ADD. So I'm constantly
I've got the diagnosis.
I just naturally gravitate. My brain doesn't shut off. So I'm constantly looking for something. I've joked with my husband and my friends, as soon as my master's is finished, I'm gonna like figure out what class I want to take next, because I can't turn that part off of me. So it's constantly looking for things. But yeah, I hate being bored. It's my least favorite feeling. So I'm constantly trying to figure out what can I learn, how can I do something, what can I do next. And so I think that's what it is. Like, I can't focus on only one thing. So I love the ability, and that's also what I love about digital marketing. And what I think, like, I know you said like English people being drawn into community. I think there's also this tendency of people who hate to be bored kind of gravitate towards social and gravitate towards digital, because intrinsically it changes constantly. Yep. And so for the person who hates to be bored, that's life affirming. That's like, now I know I'm constantly going to be challenged. I constantly have to be reading. I have to know. And granted, it can be tiresome at times, but it's so lovely to know that I know exactly what I do for my job, but I'm not going to do the exact same tasks every single day. So, that's really powerful for me.
How do you kind of shut off, like,
Great question.
And get away from it, right?
Yeah.
It's something I struggle with.
Same.
Yeah.
Got a few ways that are kind of built into my...
At night, I take melatonin, and then I do either Calm or Peloton. I do the meditations.
Oh, cool.
Because it very much helps me kind of... I need like an external source. Like, I need something to kind of to tap into. But it's really calming, and it lets me focus in a way that works for my brain. So I absolutely love those. Like Aditi on Peloton is my absolute favorite. Like I love her more than absolutely any other, like even more than Cody, who I love. But I love Aditi. I could listen to her. Like she's so like her energy as well as her voice is so calming. So I definitely recommend meditation. It's the closest thing to actually turning my brain off that works.
Wow.
I also meditate as well because I'm also crazy. And so it can definitely temper the edges. But yeah, that's beautiful. Do you have any frameworks or systems that you use to keep like your productivity or stuff aligned, or do you just like note taker, or how do you keep everything kind of organized and making sure like the things that are moving forward are moving forward?
So I take meticulous notes, and all of my to-do lists are analog. So I have like I have a notebook, and I have like a sauna.
Me too.
And I put things, but there's something so just energy giving when you're able to actually like cross something off. Like crossing off with your hand is especially if you're like you hated it and you can be like violently like scratching through it. You
the
can't,
Office Space printer.
You can't violently, but you can't violently like check that box. Like you just click it.
I'm with you.
Yeah, it's kind of the concept of like you can't hang up on someone on a smartphone anymore.
I was just
like
going to say that.
It's not the same. It doesn't have the emotional weight. So I do keep notes online and like what I need to do, but when it comes down to like foundational framework of like what is absolutely everything that needs to get done, what do I need to be thinking about for today, next week, whatever, I have to write it down. And on my master's, they have an app, so you could actually like you could take courses on the app and everything, and I don't do it that way. I do it on desktop, and then I write down absolutely everything. Like I have like 4 process notebooks that are just filled with notes. It's just notes all day long. So I know as a digital person, I'm not supposed to be analog, but I am deeply analog on certain things.
No, there's seriously something about writing it down. I have a notebook. It's like a fancy like whatever, and I write just my to-do list in there. Just you look at it and think it's like always got some master plans in there, and then you open it up and it looks like my child was just like crossing through. It's just me, you know.
Yep, that's me. It's like scribbles.
I find that I have to write the important things down. I can't type it. It just doesn't flow out of me properly. And get like solidified, you know. I
also really like the idea that because like on the page it's coupled by like time frames. Yeah. That I can visually dictate how my day is going. Like how much is left, how much is unscribbled. For me, that really shows me like, am I where I thought I was going to be? Maybe I missed something, or is this going to be one of those days where things are going to it's just going to be a late night. So I find that like the pleasure of being able to scribble it out is one thing, but also be able to visually dictate what's left, what's not there, because my brain almost thrives in the scribbles. Like the success is in the
Put that on a t-shirt. That's great. Success is in the scribbles. I couldn't agree more. I to your guys' point, I think there is something magical about pen or pencil to paper. There's something weird about it. Yeah. And for to-do lists, it's super helpful for me because my brain will bite off more than my time blocks can chew. And so in a finite world with paper, like you can only put so much on a paper, even if you're writing tiny. Whereas on digital, it's kind of infinite, right? You just add another line, and to the kids out there that don't know, not all phones were iPhones, and there was actually a point in time that Christina and I are joking where you could actually angrily close your phone to hang up, and good. Man, it was so most satisfactory feeling, and you didn't break your phone because now, like to get that, you have to like throw the phone or whatever. Now you can just have the anger hang up. So
it's an emotional exclamation point that we've lost.
Right.
So well, I love it. Okay, one more hard-hitting question in the main segment. Why is Marvel better than DC?
Okay, I have to caveat this. I love Batgirl, and I love the Batman universe more than anything that Marvel has ever created. That being said, Marvel knows their story better than DC does.
Okay.
They understand that there is this, even before Kevin Feige, although he is definitely like on a different level. there is this appreciation for the past, and there's this appreciation for how things have been built over time. It speaks really highly of how it got started. A lot of people know about Iron Man and Captain America and all this other stuff, and how it's really built the foundation for the MCU, but those weren't their Supermans and Batmans. Like, that wasn't their top tier people. They went with the B Squad, and they built the B Squad. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy should not have worked. That is such a deep cut. Like, should not have worked. And I think you can see, and so what you're seeing now is we've seen these characters adapt. The thing that I can say is equal across DC and Marvel is that the cartoons have been more faithful. The cartoons have gotten it better. X-Men, Batman the Animated Series, just like perfect. Absolutely perfect. I wouldn't change anything. I think that the Sony movies, or not Sony, Fox movies, for when we're looking at like X-Men and things like that, I feel like they really tried to focus on specific storylines and specific people, and they really lost the characters and the rich stories in the process. And they weren't able to give it the time that it deserved, which is incredibly, for me, is sad, because those stories are really rich. Great example. The Dark Phoenix saga is not a one-movie story. Mm-hmm. It should never be a one-movie story. That needs to be a trilogy. That happens over multiple time periods. That story needs to be told, and it honestly can't be told in one specific shoot. Kevin Feige gets this. He was building up to Thanos for 10 years.
All right.
Like, he understands there's a slow burn and there's a build, and for you to really tell these impactful stories, you're really going to have to take it slow and build those little pieces. They also spent too much time on Wolverine. Because, and now granted, I love Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. It's technically not cartoon or Marvel or comic accurate, but did a great job. But because of that, because of their focus on who they wanted him to be, they got Scott Summers wrong. Scott Summers in the movies is horrible, absolutely horrible, but he's a total badass in the comic books. He's a true leader. He is kind of the Captain America that we know today, or we think of, but for the X-Men, he was a leader. He was respected. He was beloved. Like, he had his drama with his brother, and that really kind of catalyzed like what he was going to be once all that stuff happened. But that story hasn't really been told effectively because we focused on Wolverine. But then we didn't really lean into what Wolverine could even do personally for me until Logan. Logan's a masterpiece. Logan is such a masterpiece to me. If you ask me for what is my favorite all-time movie of any comic book, I'm going to say Logan, because it wasn't afraid to go dark. It wasn't afraid to show the human side of these characters, but it also wasn't afraid to show the consequences of these actions and really be able to lean into it and understand that, all right, you've loved this character for such a long time. Now you're going to have to go on this ride with me. I haven't seen that with DC yet. I hope that with the Batman, we will get that, because I feel like you can add, like, I feel like a lot of the Batman movies have been done correctly, but there's pieces that we're missing. Like, I want us to lean away from Catwoman and from the Joker, because he has a rogues gallery. There's such a rich history there. There's an opportunity for you to tell some really rich stories. So obviously Catwoman's in the Batman, but they're doing the rogues gallery. They're really showcasing that and leaning into that rich history, which I'm really excited about. DC shows though, Doom Patrol, excellent.
Okay.
And they got Cyclops right. Neither the Justice League by Joss Whedon or the Justice League by Zack Snyder got Cyclops right. Sorry, not sorry. Didn't give him justice. Didn't show his dad correctly. Doom Patrol gets Cyclops right. So if you're a Cyclops fan and you want to see him done justice, you need to watch Doom Patrol. Absolutely fantastic.
Christina, you need a YouTube channel or a podcast. That was deep. That was deep. I love it. I love when people get nerdy about nerdy stuff. Like, that's one of my favorite things.
I can do that. I can talk about Marvel and DC for a very long time.
I could tell very eloquently, may I add. Okay, folks, this is why you bought the ticket. Of course, we were not going to bring on the queen of marketing Twitter without asking her some questions about community. So this is kind of our value add segment. So, Christina, let me hit you with kind of the first dabbling of it. If starting a community, so this is kind of from one of your articles, quote, if starting a community is like gardening, building a community at scale is like maintaining a fan base. Can you expand on that?
Absolutely. So whenever you are growing, and I think, and I'm going to have to get nerdy here again.
Do it.
Star Wars is a really great example. So they have this foundation of these hardcore fans. Absolutely beloved. Everyone has their favorite character. Everyone has their favorite like moment. I'm a Luke girl. Mark Hamill's my favorite human on Twitter. That will never change. Like OG King. We stand. But when every time they do a new iteration of movies, it's for money. I mean, we're not stupid, but it's also to be able to garner a new audience. So we want younger people. We want new people to sell toys to. We have new characters, new IP. So now we have all these new opportunities to sell new toys. Because toys, especially for comic books, is where a lot of the money comes from. If you look at the merchandising money from Spider-Man, that is why Spider-Man is the most priceless IP for Marvel, because that's where, if you look at like all the merch that's sold for all of the characters, like Spider-Man just like curb stomps everybody else. Like it's not even close.
Great reference.
I would figure like Superman, I don't know why, but I'm surprised by Spider-Man.
So Spider-Man's huge. Spider-Man's always been their most popular. So if you look at the merch, anytime you have these new franchises, you're looking at, not only do we need new butts in the seats, but we need new people to buy merch. We need new people to talk about us. And also, if you believe like Star Wars and all of these more established franchises, like our audience is a little bit older, so maybe they're not going to talk about it as much online, or maybe they do, but they're not talking on the channels that we want them to talk about. You're constantly trying to reinvent, and we see this with all of movies. People are trying to understand, like, we need to have more representation. We need to make sure that, like, there are storylines that if we tell now, they're problematic, but if we told them like 20 years ago, that not as many people would have been upset. So not only are they having to increase their fan base, but they're having to do so understanding that sensibilities have changed, have shifted quite significantly. And and also things are democratized. So I can watch a movie now without having to go to the theater. I can check out spoilers on Twitter without going to Rotten Tomatoes. I can find a lot of what I want to find online without having to find it in those traditional spaces. And that exists because those fans, or critics even, are in those spaces. So if Star Wars has a garden, has that foundation, everyone's beloved, there's going to be Darth Vaders at Comic-Con until the end of time.
Right.
It's just how it is. You have these iconic characters, that's iconic IP. But as you scale that and you add new stories and you add new opportunities, now you not only have to scale, but you have to make sure that you don't lose that fan base. You have to create a new drive without alienating the old drive. And that's exactly what happened with Star Wars. It's exactly what happened with the new ones. They didn't feel like they were being listened to. They didn't like the stories that were being told, the disjointed stories that were being told. And then when they criticized Marvel for it, they criticized Star Wars for it, then they were basically called toxic fans. So that's what caused a lot of those things. So it's a perfect example of what we're seeing. And then what happens later on, you have The Mandalorian.
Right.
And what does it do? It taps into the nostalgia pieces that these fans loved.
Baby Yoda.
We have this sand planet. We have these Western vibes. We have this lone figure who's searching for all these things. We have Boba Fett coming back. We have all of these. It feels
Child
like
favorite.
Yeah. What you wind up having is, if the new movies were an ode to new fans, what you have with The Mandalorian is a love letter to the ones who thought that they were forgotten. And it very much is this celebration of, these are the beats, this is how this is going to work, this is what you wanted to see. And so, and you can tell that they didn't really know if it was going to work because of Baby Yoda.
Right.
Because they kept it a secret, which I think is a brilliant idea.
Yep.
But they didn't have their merch ready for Christmas.
Yeah.
Which I was like, y'all didn't know.
Biggest miss.
Y'all didn't know. Because I would have bought all of it. I have like 4 different Baby Yodas of like all shapes and sizes, because like that's my baby. And I would defend him at all costs. But that's the thing is, we're going to do this. It's still a risk. And we hope that people are going to love this, but we don't know. And so you can tell, like them keeping a secret, not a tell. Them not having it ready, them not having the merch ready for Christmas, huge tell, because that's not something you miss. That's a miss. So things like that. So it really comes down to, yes, you have your garden, but as you scale, you're balancing. You have to
tend the garden.
You have to tend the garden. You have to figure out, how can I attract this new fan base? How can I make them feel special? How can I attract something that they've had, like Star Wars hasn't been hiding.
Right.
So you're not trying to attract new fans. You're trying to attract new fans that saw what was currently available and were like, nah, that's not for me. I need something different. So you have this balancing act of, how do I get new love, but also not alienate the old love? And so when you're scaling a community, it's the same thing. Imagine if you go to a party. Right. And I use like party examples all the time for community. But imagine you go to the party, you get there, and your best friend is the host. You get there, they hug you, they're so excited to see you. Hey, like, thank you so much for coming, it's amazing, like, now the party starts, like, da-da-da-da. They get you through the door, they take your coat, they show you where the food is, they show you wherever, like, here's everything you would ever need.
Yep.
Now imagine if someone else shows up like an hour later, and they get the same response from you. From that person, from your best friend. How do you feel? I thought I was your best friend.
Yeah,
like, I thought I was the one that was going to get all the love. Like, who is this
Sure.
new person, and why are you giving them all this attention?
Yeah.
And I'm still here.
Yeah.
Same thing with a community. You have to constantly make other people, new people, feel welcome. But you also have to make sure that those people who've been with you for a while, who maybe were the first people that were in the community, that have been tried and true, you need to make sure they're getting love too. And so there's this frantic idea of you can't please everybody, and we all know that, but you gotta try, and you need to know their motivations.
Yeah.
If I know your motivation is you need attention, then I'm gonna make sure you have attention. If someone else's motivation is they want to make sure that they're tagged in things, or they want to make sure that they're praised, or they get badges, or they get whatever, I need to understand and make sure that they're getting their motivations met. So what you're doing is you're feeding multiple people at the same time, understanding that they don't necessarily need the same things, but they both expect to get what they need in order to stay, in order for it to be worth it to them.
I love that. I love that.
It's interesting the whole time you're speaking about this, I'm like thinking how, because I mean, we're working with direct-to-consumer brands, and some of them are, I think that a lot of D2C brands, I guess from my sort of experience, there's so much emphasis on new customers. There's not so much emphasis on what you currently have and how to keep them happy. So I'm while you're talking, I'm like, how do we kind of relate that? And it's very much in a similar vein. How do you take some of those from a classic brand that's been around for, how long has Star Wars been around for?
It's been a while, since like 70s.
Yeah, 70s, I think. Yeah.
So yeah,
60 some years. Yeah.
But that's the beautiful thing about it, though, and that's why I love advocacy so much, because that answers that problem.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to alienate the people who've been with you for years, who love you, who are passionate, who sometimes know the product better than you do.
Mm-hmm.
How can you empower them to drive towards those new customers, towards that new awareness? So not only are you saying, like, I need new customers, because of course I do. I need new eyes on this. But what you're able to do is, because they've been with you for so long, because they're passionate, because they love you, you're able to say, like, here's a seat at the table. Here's how we get to be a part of you. That's why referral programs are such a fantastic underutilized tool, because what you're doing is you are empowering the people who are already there to be a part of your growth. And now when you grow, they take on that success as ownership. I was a part of this. I referred 50 people to them. I did this. And so now they feel like your growth is a part of them. So they don't feel like you left them. They feel like they got to tag along.
That's nice.
And so it's a completely different emotional pull. And now they want to be that fan. They want to be that ambassador. They want it because now they see what happens. And so they love you. They want you to be successful. They just want to be a part of it. And so you let them be a part of it. And now when you grow, now they get to be a part of the success story. And so then your motivation for them is you continue to make them feel special. You continue to make them feel heard. And so the one question I ask myself daily when I'm working with advocates is this going to make them feel special? Does this feel like it's extra? Does this just feel like something, like there's a difference between giving me what I expect and delighting me. There's a totally different vibe there. I'm not delighted by getting what I expected. I am delighted by giving more than I expected. So how can you surprise them, make them feel special? How can you delight them? And it's the little things, like you would be shocked. Everyone thinks that you have to like do these like big massive things, but it's not. It's the little moments. It's those little moments. It's sharing their successes. It's hyping them up. It's making sure that they feel like they're a part of the program. It's the little things where you heard them that's going to be really crucial. One of the things I love too is using those people as beta testers and using them as a feedback loop, because they love you and they probably have negative things to say because no product is perfect.
Right.
But they would only tell you what they hate when they're mad.
Yeah.
And they probably wouldn't do it to your face. They'd probably do it online and be like, oh, I've been with this brand for so many years and they did this and I can't stand it. So you don't want that. What you want to do is you want to empower them to be a part of a feedback loop. So now they feel like they get to be a part of it. And so now if there's a new product offering you give, or there's a new, like, great example. There's a guy on Twitter today who shouted out HubSpot because there is a change that he's been asking for years. The update came today. He saw it and he was like, they finally did it. They finally fixed it. It's just, yeah. And he thanked HubSpot. He thanked the HubSpot developers for listening. And he also thanked the community for advocating for that change. So in that one tweet, you hear that HubSpot listened. HubSpot gave him what he wanted. He's happy about it. And he got to shout out fellow HubSpot users. All in one tweet.
Yeah. It's gold. It's gold.
It's gold.
Yeah.
And so when you're given the opportunity to, with your biggest fans and users, to say, hey, we know we're not perfect, but we want to know how we can improve ourselves. We want to know how we can be better. Where are the opportunities for support? Where are the opportunities to improve suggestions? That is such a really great way to have them to really amplify any negative feelings in a positive, productive manner. So now you can say, like, we never thought of that. We need to put that in the roadmap. Or we didn't realize, like, there's so many times and I love like practitioner library stuff where people show tutorials of how they use things, because they don't always use it the way that you expect them to use it.
Yes.
And if they don't expect you to use it the way that you expect them to use it, then they're going to find problems that you never saw when you tested it, because you didn't test it the way they are using it.
Totally agree.
And so giving them an opportunity to shine, giving them an opportunity to be in that space where now they get to be a part of, like, they're going to refer people to you, so now you get to grow.
Right.
But in a feedback loop, now you get to improve. So now you're a part of the improvement. And now when they make that change, it's a change that they fought for. It's an idea that they gave you. It's an opportunity for them to have liquidity. And that is such a powerful, like, talk
Super
about
powerful.
creating a brand bond. That's a brand bond. Because now when someone mentions that, you're going to be like, yeah, that was my idea. Like, I told them they should do that. So all of those things are just incredibly priceless. It's just, if you can really figure out those emotional levers that you need to pull, and just think about how would you feel? What would make you feel special? What motivates you? How do you, like, some people just want to have their tweet liked. Other people want to be in a webinar. Others would be fine being beta testers. Others just want swag. But you need to understand that they all have different motivations, and they all have reasons to stay, and then they have reasons to love you more. You just have to figure out what you need to do to earn that.
I love that. That's fantastic. There's actually something called the Kano model of quality that gets into basically what you're describing in terms of, like, a car, for example. If I make the brakes a little bit better, like, that's an expectation of mine, right? I expect the car to stop. But if I put custom tire caps or air caps on there, you're delighted by that. Not only that, I don't tell you about it. You have to find it and discover the feature. So delight's this really unique function of almost connoisseurship. Like the more you know the product, the more delight you can internalize. It's almost like if anybody out there has watched Arrested Development. Arrested Development can be consumed in any kind of way. You can watch whatever season. But there's tons of little Easter eggs and jokes that kind of go to the broader point that you're making, Christina, of that empathy, that connection, that I'm on the inside. It's the inside joke because you guys didn't get it, but I did. So that attention payment, if you will, that I put in the back is now getting kind of, distributed, and now you're getting your dividends from it. So I absolutely love that.
It's huge. And another real life example that we're experiencing as a business, as a new business, is that our biggest growth is coming from development, and the development is being dictated by the feedback loops of our biggest fans. So they're the ones that feel empowered to share it and to advocate. It's huge, and I think product development that's like the key. So
yeah, and to Christina's point too, looking at what people are doing versus asking what they're doing is so important because there's another kind of framework I'm fascinated with called jobs to be done, and ultimately in that when you're interviewing the person, you ultimately want to look for the hack. Where it's like, what are you hacking together? That is so clever. Why are we not doing it like that? Because they have the need. They're the kind of quote unquote boots on the ground actually doing it. And so, yeah, I absolutely love it. All right, Christina, you made it to the last segment. Dun, 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 dun. So this is our rapid fire segment. Max is going to run it. Max, go ahead. Take it away.
Get ready. All right. All right, Ted Lasso, overrated or underrated?
Oh, I love Ted Lasso. It's underrated.
Oh, okay.
He can win every award and it'd still be underrated. I love Ted Lasso with my Jason Sudeikis. Is like, I told someone today he's the everyman's Ryan Reynolds because he's just as funny, but he's a little bit more approachable.
Not as jacked.
Not as jacked. Oh, I love Jason Sudeikis. So yeah, underrated always.
Got it. Okay. Space exploration, overrated or underrated?
Doing it, underrated. Motivations for doing it, overrated. We have a lot of problems on this planet that we need to solve first. And I think that we could be using that money. Like, as long as there's people who are dying and starving on this planet, I feel like some of that money should be going towards that too, because that is a lasting problem. I do believe that space exploration is incredibly important, though. So, love space exploration, but there's a reason why all the billionaires are trying to get off. Like, I'd like the normies to have help. Like, let's deal with a lot of the issues on this planet first.
That's a good point.
That's hilarious.
Okay. NFTs, overrated or underrated?
I think they're underrated. I think what you're seeing is you're seeing a mixture of multiple microcosms. You're seeing cryptocurrency, blockchain, decentralization. You're seeing all of those, but then you're also mixing it with an art scene and a community scene and a collector ability. That's the thing that blockchain hasn't had, was this collectability. That little cell in your brain that says you need to collect all the Pokemon cards. This has been activated now. So completely underrated. I think it's going to be interesting to see how we continue to see this. I would look at it from, conservatively, I would look at it from an art model. It's not any different than the guys who are on Sneakers app trying to collect sneakers and have an entire wall. So baseline, it's a collectible. In the future, though, if we continue to see blockchain being acceptable and being cross categories, I mean, you can have bonds. Why can't you, you have paper bonds? Why can't you have digital assets? It just looks like art. It looks like a melting zombie ape face, but it's still an asset.
It's good. Yeah, it's good. It's good for any category. It needs to be adapted. It's a good thing.
Yeah. And I think it also celebrates something too that we're seeing is this really embracing of the creator. Yeah. And so this is one more way that illustrators and other artists can be able to be able to show off what they're doing. And I think there's a lot of opportunity left in NFTs, so definitely underrated.
I think you answered these questions, but we're going to do it again. Best Marvel character?
Best Marvel character? Okay.
Or did you do DC earlier? I'm sorry, I get them confused.
Batgirl's my favorite DC character. Angela is actually my favorite. I have a thing for redheads, obviously. Angela is my favorite Marvel character, but she's not going to be in the movies because they blended her character with Hela. So that was kind of a part of it. She's actually the angel sister of Thor, who was kidnapped and taken to an angel world. The reason I love her is she was created by Neil Gaiman.
How do you know all this? You're incredible. You are incredible.
She was originally in the Spawn comic books, and then she was later acquired by Marvel. But she's Neil Gaiman, and he's my favorite living writer. So anything Neil Gaiman writes, any characters he creates, I'm going to be biased towards.
Solid. Okay. Now, what's your best, your favorite Marvel movie?
Favorite Marvel movie? I can't really count Logan because that was Fox. I'm going to say Winter Soldier. I absolutely loved Winter Soldier.
Okay.
And honestly, that was the best Black Widow movie, too. She was far better in that one than the Black Widow movie. So if we're going to count Black Widow movie, that's also Winter Soldier.
I think we know this answer coming up, but it's in here. Community building, overrated or underrated?
Underrated. Hyper underrated.
Oh, I'm with you, yeah. Vincent van Gogh, overrated or underrated?
Oh, I love Vincent. Underrated.
Favorite social network?
Twitter. Always going to be Twitter.
Favorite meal and why?
I love chili poblanos, which is where they take a pepper, they carve out all of the seeds, stuff it with cheese, and then they fry an egg batter. That's my go-to. Absolutely adore chili poblanos.
Yeah.
Never heard of it. Happy to learn something new.
Yeah, get to the Tex-Mex, Southwest. It's delicious.
It's really good. Yeah, it's excellent.
Favorite place traveled and why?
I love Scotland, Edinburgh specifically.
Cool.
And favorite way to spend your time?
Reading.
Love it.
Favorite follow on Twitter? I think you mentioned it.
Well, I love Mark Hamill. He doesn't follow me. I follow him though.
It's all that matters.
And he just had a birthday. So happy birthday to the Joker / Luke.
Happy birthday, Mark.
If you could have dinner with any 3 people, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Wow.
If you need a little, you need more time there, right?
I do need more time.
But this is rapid fire. This is why you're on the clock.
Okay, one is
the
Ken
sludge
Levine.
is going to fall.
One is Ken Levine. He's the writer and creator of BioShock because I absolutely adore BioShock.
Masterpiece.
Actually, I'm gonna go with my dream list. They're all alive. Ken Levine, Guillermo del Toro, Neil Gaiman. That's my 3. And then I'm gonna talk them. The whole meal is to pitch them to do something together.
Cool.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, we've never heard the goal going in. That's amazing, but that's great. A bunch of creators there, so that would be a super fun dinner. Christina, this has been so much fun. I know you're doing a bunch of cool stuff at HubSpot. You want to tell us about it?
Absolutely. So we have a program at HubSpot for advocates called Hub Fans. If you are a user of HubSpot, love HubSpot, would like to be featured, would like to take challenges, earn points, badges, opportunities to network with other HubSpot users, we would love to have you. We also have Inbound coming up in 2 weeks from October 12th through the 14th. It is virtual, and we have Powerhouse tickets, but we also have free starter passes. And Oprah is talking at Inbound, so you get to see Oprah for free. So
maybe even get a car.
Exactly. You can go to inbound.com to get tickets. Beautiful.
Okay, inbound.com. You're on the Bird app at that Christina G. We're on the Bird app at Try Triple Whale. If you want to get involved with Triple Whale, one login, one dashboard, all the metrics, plus a mobile app, go to trytriplewhale.com. I am Rabba, Max, Christina. Thank you so much for your time. This was incredible. Really, really appreciate it. And we will talk soon. See everybody on the flip.